My grandparents moved to Northeastern roughly the time I was 2 or 3. They had lived in Boston for many years, and they lived with us for a couple of years before moving to 54 Main Street, right across from the Ames Free Library, which ironically enough was the very first Easton post office. So they bought that off of the Hayes family, if I'm not mistaken. So shortly thereafter, they purchased a little business on Main Street called Nana's Place. That wasn't called Nana's Place, but my grandmother, whom everybody called Nana, christened it Nana's Place, and it was a great store. My grandparents were always well received and well liked, and having the business of Nana's, it just really grew. Their circle of friends and everybody becoming like a family to them. And Nana's was just a place for everybody to meet, whether you were young or old. It was a store that had a little bit of everything for everyone, whether it was newspapers, comic books, candy, model airplanes, novelty items, gum, all the vices. My grandfather was really into cigars and tobacco and all of that, and he would order specialty cigars, and he had that towards the back of the store, so while the kids were looking at the candy and gum, the adults had something to look at in the back. My brother and I, growing up, you'd think that we had access to all the candy and gum, but nothing could be further from the truth. Same thing with the toys. It was plastic bags of Army men, and I think my grandparents kept one bag of that at their place that we could play with, but you leave the stuff at the store, you leave that stuff alone. We did get our hands on comic books, and that really started our love for reading and learning, and Sergeant Rock, right off the top of my head, At that point, that time in history, we were still in Vietnam, and Walter Cronkite was letting us know what was happening over there with our troops in Vietnam, and for young kids like myself at the time, it was almost unfathomable what was happening in terms of war. And when you saw a comic book about war, you knew it was really a story, but it helped your imagination develop in terms of our country's history and some of the military life that our soldiers had to go through. So from that perspective, I think it really it developed my love for reading, and it developed my interest for our country's history too. I can tell you right away, just opening that door and hearing that little bell jingle, and just the smell of the wood floors, and the candy and the gum and the chocolates and the tobacco, all of that hitting you. So it was, for somebody who appreciates history, it really smelt like history, but mixed with, a lot of the modern day, conveniences of, candy and gum and, all of that. My favorite spot would have to be those two racks of comic books, There was a magazine rack that went along the right wall, and right in front of that was these two spinners of magazine racks, and there was another spinner that had joke items the ice cube with the fly in it, and the hot pepper gum and the whoopee cushions, all that stuff. That was pretty neat. But those comic books just, they pulled you in. Didn't find myself in the tobacco section too much, but I remember a lot of the model kits. There was those bee bombers with the flying fortresses and a lot of that, and the Lon Chaney monsters that you could put together, or the 1957 Chevys from Revell model kits.
Were you into that?
I really was, yeah. Really got into that. And here I am, I'm in retail, that's what I do full time, the customer service, just watching my grandparents, the level of service mixed with genuine friendship and enjoying, the company of people. It almost made work seem like pleasure for them, everybody got this great greeting, when they came through the door, and there really were very few people my grandparents didn't know, so everybody they were always welcome in the store. My grandparents were always genuinely happy to see folks, and it was just that level of service just kind of stayed with me, and I always thought, well, this is where the good guys win. This is where the people who do that type of service for customers and run their businesses that way, that level of customer service, that's the winning recipe. Yeah. If you came in just to say hi, that made their day, because, oh yeah, I saw so-and-so today, I saw so-and-so today, And it passes the time, Come on in, have a cup of coffee, we'll talk. How's your day? I'm coming in for a newspaper anyways, So it was nice. It was nice. You got to see people that, if after a couple of weeks you didn't see them, they came in and you got to see how they were doing, And they sold it. They sold it to a nice family in Easton who lived nearby that everybody knew, and they were friendly, and they knew it was going to be in good hands, and they sold it to them. And my grandparents just, they enjoyed life a little bit better. They spent more time, doing vacations and taking little trips in my grandfather's 1968 Dodge Dart happening. And I remember just through force of habit going there after school, not every day, but after school going over there. I'm like, oh yeah, my grandparents aren't here anymore, I was sad, not really sad, but I would have to say it's disappointing. You would like to see something like that continue on in your family, but you understand why. Mm-hmm. And then sometime in '79, coming back from a Little League baseball game, I just remember being in the car with my dad. My dad had picked us up, and just driving down Main Street, making way for all the fire engines just coming down. There was smoke coming up out of the sky, and Nana's was on fire. It was burning down, and my dad pulled over. I think we parked in front of Matrano's and went on the lawn. And I saw my other teammates there and my friends, and we just watched in awe, just to see, a landmark, a place where many of us had grown up and experienced some really great years, together as kids and just, as family, just go up in smoke. And I think that hurt worse than my grandparents selling it. You always pull over for a fire engine, and this time we didn't really think it would ever be for Nana's burning down. But there it was. Everybody was quiet. Just remember that. Everybody's sitting on the lawn, and it was just a massive mob of people, and everybody was just quiet. The expressions of disbelief, just watching that all go, It was a sad moment. One thing about the fire was that, it really made, the end of an era final. It was just like Nanda's was a place and a moment in time, and once that fire hit, it was gone. It was, it was like everybody had to move on.
Right.
I couldn't go by it without staring over there, and thinking about, opening that door and smelling that hardwood floor and the candy and, the new comic books and the tobacco and seeing Sam and Irene.